All right, my brothers and my sisters, um, I'm going to show you, let's take a look at this video, which will lead us into our study today. As you can see in the title, it says, Wife Catch Husband Cheating. Wife Catch Husband Cheating. So we're going to see, we want to look at the scriptures as to what happens if a woman sees her husband with another man or having sex with another man or another woman. If a woman comes in, I got a question. A sister asked a question. What happens biblically? Like, how does the Most High see it? What is it biblically? If a woman comes home and sees that her husband is having sex with another woman, what happens? So let's take a look at this video, and then we will come back and continue in this. Let's just watch this.
Girl, here. Girl, what am I gonna do with this man and him with this woman? Listen, I'm not gonna wait on you. I thank you so much for the tip. You're my girl. But I gotta handle this. Because if I wait till you get here, they could leave. Look, I gotta go. I gotta go. I love you too, but I gotta go. Just a minute. Sorry about that. Hello? Is Amber here? This is she. What the hell is your problem? You better get your, you better get your, you better get your. Wait a minute. You better straight this. You better straight this. No, it ain't what it look like. No. It ain't what it look like. No, I ain't what it look like. No, that's what I said. Y'all go ahead, I ain't got, no. You knew he was gay. You knew he was gay. You and your husband, they ain't got nothing to do with me. You supposed to go with Blade. Well, Blade ain't got nothing to do with this. You Blade, baby. I'm his wife. Well, y'all got nothing, ooh. I ain't got nothing to do with that. I'm his wife. What's wrong with you? Blade, there ain't nothing going on. Ain't nothing going on between us. What you in here for? I was in there playing the party. Pants down. Yeah, but put pants down, man. You tell me that. Yeah, she go. She better run. She better run. Look, Sean. Man, I'm tired of this. Sean, no, babe, let me explain. Oh, let me explain. No, babe. I got something for you. No, babe, don't do it. Don't worry about it. Come on now. Come on, it ain't like that. You want her to stay? No, you know I want her. You had something to do with Blade getting killed. You had something to do with Blade getting killed. You wanted his woman. You wanted his woman. Babe, come on now. Why you acting like that? You acting all like it. What's wrong with you? It ain't nothing like that.
All right, so we saw that video. We saw what happened there. So we're going to see another video. We are going to see another video because this do happen in the world. This kind of things do happen. You know, people do come back home and catch their husband or see their husband with another woman. So the question, what we're trying to explore right now is, what do you do in a situation like this? If you're a woman and you come back home and sees your husband with another woman, what do you do? Do you pack your things and leave? Do you divorce him? What does the Bible say in this situation? Because at the other time, we on the other study, we saw what the Bible said in Deuteronomy 24, that if your wife has sex with another man, you cannot marry her again. Should not take her back. You should never have sex with her ever again. So once another man has sex with your wife, you cannot have sex with her again, according to Deuteronomy chapter 24. So what we're trying to see now is what happens if your husband has sex with another woman. What do you do? You know, if your husband has sex with another woman, what do you do? So we're trying to see the videos where this actually happens, where stuff like this happens. And then from there, we are going to go into the scriptures to get some understanding, to get some biblical understanding, what a woman does or what a woman can do if she comes back home and sees her husband having sex with another woman, or if she sees her husband having sex with another woman. The Bible tells us what the man is supposed to do. Today we're going to find out what the woman is supposed to do. So let's see a few more videos and then we'll go into the scriptures. So this one is really quick. This is really quick. This is a woman that saw or caught her husband in their bedroom or something, because I can see a baby, though they blur the face of the baby. So she saw her husband with another woman, and she took out a gun and started shooting. Though she did not shoot anybody. And I looked at this is like a newspaper, like the Sun newspaper. So the video was uploaded by a newspaper. So it seems to be like a legitimate story, because if it's like acting, I don't think that this company will post a video like this. So it seems to be a legitimate video. It says armed wife catches husband in bed with another woman, and that is what we're trying to look at right now. What do you do in a situation like that? What happens? What does the Bible say in this issue? If a woman sees her husband with another woman in bed, what happens? We see how this woman reacted, and this seems to be real because, again, because of the people that posted the video. I think I have one more that I'm going to share with you before we now get into the scriptures. And this one seems to have happened in a restaurant. This happened at a restaurant. So let's see what happens, because I didn't watch the whole video. Let's see what happens.
What you lying about? What you lying about? What you lying about? Ain't no friends with this bitch. Who's talking this hoe? What you lying about it for then? I know you. What you lying about it for then? If it ain't shit. If it ain't shit. I do it. Give me a reason. We both gonna go to jail then. Give me a reason. I'm telling you, Mark. You don't know what it took for me not to bring my motherfucking rifle up here, man.
She said her rifle. I know that's right. I know that's right. Oh, y'all don't do that. Don't do that. That's okay. I don't care. Don't do that. Don't do that. Look how girl does. I'll be so. Get up and go on. They gonna take them a minute. She recorded too. Yeah, I know that fella. It didn't happen to me.
No, that's her husband.
That's her husband.
Yeah, well, you ain't married no more.
She hurt.
Like 7 years ago, man.
7 years ago.
I don't believe you on this land, motherfucker. How you gonna be friends with a land-ass nigga in the first place? You got a whole other nigga at home. You got his baby up here with my motherfucking husband. Why you ain't with him?
That's not her fault.
Why you ain't with him?
They coming. Here come the police, girl. Here come the police.
You a lying son of a bitch. That's what you is. No, you know it. I don't care what the
Heck yeah, they ain't got no business.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. Stay away. I'm not going to do it. Let me go. That's what we want. Let me go. Yes, we are. Let's go. This is what my husband. He got no business over here with us. You bullshit work. No. I got you working. I got you working. You ain't got no business over here with us.
No, I'm not.
I was talking to him. Sit. You're talking to me.
That is knock your ass out.
Okay, so this is what happens, and I always tell you that everything is upside down. That saying that everything is upside down might not make sense if you don't compare things with the scriptures. So if you compare things with the scriptures, you will see that things are not the way it's supposed to be. So for example, truth. People talk about truth. Truth. What is truth? Your truth might not be my truth. Your truth might not be my truth. There are different versions of truth. There are different versions of truth. So your truth may not be my truth. What you think to be truth might not be truth to me. There's only one truth, and the word of the Most High is the truth. The word of God is the truth. That is the only truth. So everything is supposed to be compared to the word of God, the word of our Heavenly Father. Everything is supposed to be compared because nothing matters and nothing means anything. Nothing means anything except the word of our Heavenly Father. His word is the definition of everything. So, for example, stealing, lying. He is the one that told us, don't steal, don't lie, don't cheat, don't commit adultery. So, speaking of adultery, that brings me back to these people that we just watched. These women are upset because the men are committing adultery. So, without the Bible, without the scriptures, without the word of the Most High, these men are not doing anything wrong. They're not doing anything wrong. So you have to, without the scripture, let's say, for example, if you don't believe in the scriptures, if you are an atheist, then you cannot say that what they're doing is wrong. Same thing with women. Same thing with when somebody steals. So if you say you don't believe in the scripture, then thou shalt not steal doesn't mean anything to you because you don't believe in that word. So my point is that in order to understand or to know whether something is wrong, good or bad, you have to compare it to the scriptures. So let's look at some scriptures. Let's look at some scriptures. This is not even complicated. This is not even, it's not even difficult or complicated to understand. So I don't think we're going to spend much time on this. So the question is, what happens if a woman comes back? If a woman comes back and catches her husband or sees her husband with another man, what happens? If a woman sees her husband with another man, what happens in that case? Or if a woman sees her husband with another woman, is it an adultery? So I would like us to start with scripture. Let's go to 1 Samuel. That's the scripture that came to my mind right now. 1 Samuel chapter 2, 2 Samuel chapter 12. So 2 Samuel 12, because I really want to start from scripture, go to scripture on this particular subject. So if you look at 2 Samuel right here, you see that David had sex with somebody's wife, which is exactly what we're studying right now. David had sex with somebody's wife. My brothers and sisters, I have a question for you. I have a question. When David had sex with Uriah's wife, was David married or not? If you know, answer. Open up your mic. Does he have a wife when he had sex with Uriah's wife?
Yes.
Yes, okay. Who else? Was he a single?
Abigail, one of his wives.
Yes, Abigail. Abigail in first. Yes, go ahead.
Yes, he were married before.
Okay, so he already has a wife, and Abigail was one of his wives. That's 1 Samuel chapter 25. So if you want to see how he married Abigail, read 1 Samuel chapter 25. You see how Abigail's husband died, how the Most High killed Abigail's husband, and how David ended up marrying her. But later on, so if you count David's Abigail, and then you count the other 10 women that the Most High gave him, right here in verse 8. Verse 8. This is what the Most High said to David. I gave you your master's house and your master's wives into your keeping, and gave you the house of Israel and Yehuda. And if that had been too little, I also would have given you much more. So according to our Heavenly Father, he gave David his master's wives, who David married. Because if you keep reading in this chapter, in chapter 15, chapter 16, if you keep reading, you see that Absalom later on ended up having sex with David's wife as a punishment to what David did to Uriah, like the Most High told him. The Most High told him right here. Let's see. The Most High told him that your neighbor will also do the same thing to you. The same thing you did to Uriah, the same thing will happen to you. So that ended up happening to David. It says in verse 11, thou says Yahweh, behold, I will raise up adversity against you from your own house, and I will take your wives before your eyes and give them to your neighbor, and he shall lie with your wives in the sight of the sun. So those 10 women that the Most High gave to David, the Most High now called them David's wife. So in verse 8, the Most High says, I gave you your master's house and your master's wives to your keeping. The Most High now come up here in verse 11 of 2 Samuel chapter 12. The Most High says, thou says Yahweh, behold, I will raise up adversity against you from your own house. I will take your wives. So those 10 women he gave to David, he now called David's wives. But the Gentiles, the filthy, disgusting, abominable Gentiles, will call those women concubines. The Most High called them wives. These disgusting heathens, wicked Gentiles, the Europeans, with their Christianity, will call those women concubines, even though the Most High called them wives. Now, keep in mind that before the Most High gave David these women, David already married Abigail already. Because David married Abigail when he was still being chased around by Saul. Like when he was still, that was in 1 Samuel chapter 25. As of 1 Samuel chapter 20, 21, David was still running around. If you remember when David made contact with Abigail's husband, David was hungry. He was begging for food. He was literally begging for food. That was what led to the killing of Abigail's husband. Because David sent some men to go beg for food, to go ask Abigail's husband to give them some food. They were hungry. He was running for his life. And Abigail's husband refused to give them some food, was playing games. And the Most High ended up killing him. And then David married Abigail. So David already married Abigail before the Most High now gave him these 10 women. If we now come up again and read a little bit more what the Most High said here, the reason why the Most High was against David. The Most High told us the reason why he was against David. He said, I gave you your master's house and your master's wives into your keeping, and I gave you the house of Israel and Yehuda. And if that had been too little, I also would have given you much more. Why have you despised the commandment of Yahweh to do evil in his sight? You have killed Uriah the Hittite with the sword. You have taken his wife to be your wife and have killed him with the sword of the people of Ammon. Verse 10, now therefore the sword shall never depart from your house, because you have despised me and have taken the wife of Uriah the Hittite to be your wife. Sword will never depart from your house. What the punishment that the Most High gave to David was everlasting punishment. Sword will never depart from your house. Sword represents death, senseless death, shedding of blood, senseless fight. They'll be killing each other. They'll be slaughtering each other. His descendants will be killing each other. They will be dying tragic death. Just like their ancestor David killed an innocent man, the families of David, the descendant of David will never have 100% peace wherever they are. Sword, untimely death, bloodshed will remain in the house of David. It says never, shall never depart from your house, the house of David. The house of David is still around till today, till today, till today. It's just that they don't know who they are. The descendants of David are still around. But like every other Israelite, they don't know who they are. And wherever they are, you will see untimely death. You will see them senselessly killing each other. But you will not understand why they're doing it, because of what their ancestors did. Because if you remember, as you keep reading, eventually, Absalom, David's son, was trying to kill Absalom, was trying to kill David. He was trying to kill David. And eventually, as he was trying to kill David, eventually he ended up having sex with David's wife. That happened. So what the Most High told David eventually happened. The Most High told him that I will raise up adversity in your house. I will raise up adversity in your house, and I will give your wives to to your neighbor, and he will lie with your neighbor in front of the sun outside. So that was what happened, and the Most High did it, and it's still happening till today. It's just that we will not understand it. We will not understand what is happening. We will not understand what is going on. When you see the sons of David, or the descendant of David, killing each other. So it's supposed to be like a warning for us to be careful, not to misunderstand and think that the Most High will just, or we can just do whatever we want to do, and the Most High will forgive us. And the Most High said it, that the only thing he has against David is what he did to Absalom, what he did to Uriah. That's what the Most High hold against him, because of what he did to Uriah. And if you look at the punishment that the Most High gave to David, it's everlasting punishment. Everlasting punishment he gave to David. So, as we continue with our study, why are they doing this? Why are they trying to force me to see these advertisements? So as we continue, with First Samuel, let's go back to Second Samuel chapter 12. So you clearly see what the Most High said there, how he gave these women to David, and before that, David already had Abigail. So this is part of the reason why people would tell you that, oh, I don't believe in the Old Testament. Oh, that's the Old Testament. Oh, we are under the New Testament. Oh, that is done away with. Oh, even there are some Hebrew Israelites, actually. There are some Hebrew Israelites that actually believe the same thing. They are like IUIC speaks against polygamy. IUIC speaks against polygamy. They don't believe in polygamy. Just like they don't believe that Mary was born of a virgin. IUIC actually believe that Joseph had sex with Mary, and Mary became pregnant, even though it's so clear in the book of Matthew chapter 1. It is so clear. It's very clear in the script, in the Bible, that Joseph did not have sex with her. Joseph did not have sex with her, because if Joseph had sex with her, then Joseph would not be shocked of her losing her. Joseph would not think that she lost her virginity to another man. So that's something of a different topic. But no, Joseph did not have sex with Mary in order to produce Christ. And the Bible in the book of Isaiah 23, Isaiah 53 verse 2, makes it clear how he was going to be born. He would be like a tree, like a plant in a desert. He will come up like a plant in a desert. So it's trying to tell you that he will be born. The way he's going to be born will not be like the way people are usually born. So because it's hard to see a plant in a desert, because there's no water in the desert. So normally it's dry. So anyway, but they also believe, the so-called IUIC believe that Christ was actually born or produced by Joseph having sex with Mary, but that's not true. So the same way, they also believe that polygamy is done away with, which is a very weird, very strange, weird belief for a Hebrew Israelite camp to believe. So you believe that the laws are still in effect, but at the same time, you believe that we don't have to do polygamy anymore. I don't get it. I don't understand. That is a very strange thing to believe, but they do. But if you're being honest, which we're going to try to be, we're going to try to be honest. If you're being honest, you have to understand that what the Most High was saying here. I gave you your master's wives. Okay, you know what? I want to show you something. Let's take a look at this before we come back into the scriptures. Okay, let's just mix it up a little bit. I want to show you something, and then we'll come back into the scriptures and continue. Like as I said, this is relatively very simple. It's going to be difficult for us if you believe that some of the scriptures, some of the books in the Bible is no longer valid. If you believe that, yes, I know that this thing is written over here and in this chapter and in this verse, but that was back then. This thing that we read here is for back then. It doesn't apply to us. If you believe that, then this would take us time to finish this study. But if you accept everything you see in the Bible, then it will not take us long. So I want to show you this video, and then we'll come back into the scriptures to then get into what happens, because as you can see that the Most High condemned David. Okay, the Most High clearly condemned David for taking somebody's wife, for having sex with somebody's wife, and that is what we're trying to study right now. What happens if a man has sex with somebody's wife? Right? If a man has sex with another woman, actually, that was the question. What happens if a woman comes back and see her husband having sex with another woman? What happens? Does she leave? Does she file for divorce? What happens? So I want to show you this video, and then we'll come back and look at the scriptures and try to round this up.
He's living with 12 wives, 25 own children, and other 9 children that he adopted. His dream is to have 20 wives, as he promised his spirit. This family with 12 wives live happily, in harmony. No argument, no conflict, and no collision, although they share one husband. Despite people calling him a witch doctor, he claims to be a servant of God. Meet the biggest family in this region that shocked everyone. Polygamy is the practice or custom of having more than one wife or one husband at the same time. Polygamy has several economic, social, and health advantages over monogamy. In most cultures,
stop what you're doing right now if you're a woman or a man.
I don't know how that got in there, but let's just bear with me. Let's make sure that this doesn't happen again. Normally, I try to remove the ads, so just bear with me. Let's make sure that the ads are not going to play. Okay, so try to remove that, make sure that it doesn't play, but for some reason they were able to sneak, that one was able to sneak in. Okay.
Spouse. I'm here living with my 12 wives. My goal is to have 20 wives. So there remain 8 wives for my goal to be achieved.
Listen, my brothers and sisters, I don't want this study to be about polygamy. Okay? I don't want it to be about polygamy, but there's a reason why I'm showing you this, because it has to be shown. This we cannot, the question that was asked is, if you notice, I don't have a lot of videos about polygamy. I don't like to talk about polygamy. because people do polygamy the wrong way. And I don't even want to encourage people to do polygamy. I don't want to encourage it. Why? Because you have to do it in a certain way. If you're going to do it biblically, there's a way to do it. And people are not doing it that way. So I don't like to talk about polygamy. So this is not a study of polygamy. The question is, what happens if a woman comes back and sees her husband with another woman? So I have to show you like what we saw in 2 Samuel chapter 12. So what we're going to eventually come back to is that there are circumstances to which a man will have sex with another woman. It becomes an adultery. And there are circumstances that it will not be an adultery. So, for example, David having Abigail as his wife, and then the Most High gave him other wives. If he has sex with those other wives, it is not sin, as long as he marries them. But him having sex with Uriah's wife was sin. I don't know if that makes sense. So if he marries those women, it is not sin. David already has a wife, and Abigail was not even the first one. Don't forget that Saul gave David his daughter. Some of you might remember. Micheal. Saul gave his daughter to David, who he later on took back. Later on, he took back his daughter. And then when David became king, he went and brought Micheal back. So before he even married Abigail, he already had another wife that Saul gave him. So the problem that the Most High had with David was that he did not marry Uriah's wife, and he could not marry Uriah's wife. You cannot marry a woman that is already married to somebody else, unless if her husband dies. He was able to marry Abigail because her husband died. So a man can have sex with another woman as long as a man can have a wife. I can have a wife and then have sex with another woman as long as I marry that woman. As long as she is my wife, it will not be a sin. I will not be committing adultery. This man right here, this is his first wife right here. That's the first wife before he married these ones. He married this one. They've lived for 16 years, according to him, or according to her. So if she sees him having sex with this one, as long as he married this one, just like he married her, they are not committing sin. It's not a sin. But if he goes behind the corner, or if he keeps her as a side chick, if he did not marry her while he's having sex with her, then he's committing adultery. He's committing adultery. And we're going to come back and look at what the scripture says on what she's going to do in that case. But she cannot get angry that he's having sex with her as long as she is his wife. The problem that the Most High had with David was because Uriah's wife was somebody's wife that has a husband. And not only did he have sex with her, he killed her husband in order to marry her. Initially, David did not intend to kill Uriah. The whole thing went out of hand. The whole thing went out of hand, out of control. Initially, David just wanted to have sex with her in hiding. That is behind the scene. David just wanted to have sex with her without anybody knowing. David never intended on marrying her. The problem was that after David had sex with her, she became pregnant. He did not see that coming. So when she became pregnant, David tried to cover it up by sending for them to bring her husband to come back from that war and making him go home and have sex with her so that it will look like he was the one that impregnated his wife. That was the first plan, plan A, to bring him back from the war and let him go back home. When Uriah came back from the war, Uriah refused to go back home. Uriah decided to stay in David's house because Uriah was feeling guilty of going home and staying in his house while his other Israelites are staying in the war, are fighting in the war. He felt guilty. Uriah said to David, how can I come back from the war and stay here and go back home to my house and stay in my house while my other brethren are fighting in the war? No, I don't want to do that. David tried and tried and tried to convince him to go home because David was hoping that if he goes home, he will have sex with his wife. And then it will look like he was the one that impregnated his wife. Everything that David tried to get this man to go to his wife, the man did, Uriah did not go. So David had to turn to plan B. Plan B was to now kill him because David did not want that news to leak out. David did not want anybody to know that he was the one that impregnated her. If they were doing abortion at that time, I'm sure that David would have actually tried to encourage her to get an abortion or something. So from the beginning, David was, no, not from the beginning. After she became pregnant, David was trying to cover up the whole thing. And it got worse and worse and worse and ended up in killing innocent man. So David did not intend on just flat out, straightforward, taking somebody's wife and killing him. That was not the intention. The intention was to have sex with her and leave her alone. But the whole thing escalated and went out of control, out of David's control. He was scrambling to handle that situation. He did not want that information to leak out. So, listen. What I'm trying to give you is biblical information. You could take it or leave it. I don't care. I don't care what you believe in the world. I don't care what the Europeans have told you. I don't care what they tell you in Christian church. Whether you like it or not. Whether you like it or not. In the sight of the Most High, a man can have a wife like this woman is his wife. He can have a wife and marry another wife. And as long as he married that woman, it is not an adultery. They can have sex, it's not an adultery. It's not sin. She can be angry all she wants. But in the sight of the Most High, what they're doing is not an adultery. The first wife can be angry all she wants. She can pull a gun all she wants. As long as he marries this woman, their relation is not an adultery in the sight of God. But if he has this woman as a wife, he now sees this woman on the street or at his job. They start sneaking out on their lunch break and they go inside their car and they go park behind their shopping center and they are having sex or something. As long as he did not marry her, it's sin in the sight of the Most High. He's committing adultery. He is committing adultery because he did not marry her. She is not his wife. It becomes sin in the sight of the Most High. But if he married her and she is his wife, it's not sin, because David already has a wife. Now, some of you wicked people will say, well, that was Old Testament. Well, that was Old Testament. That was back then. So if you are this woman, if you are the first wife, and this is your husband, and then he marries, or you seize or you catches him with this woman, the question is, did he marry this woman? If he did not marry this woman, then your husband is committing adultery. Your husband is committing adultery because he did not marry her. Don't even worry about being angry at him, because the Most High is angry at him already, because he's committing adultery. The Bible says that no adulterer will be allowed into the kingdom. So you don't even have to bother yourself. As long as he's committing adultery, the Most High is against him. But you as a wife, if you see your husband having sex with another woman who is not his wife, let's say that he is having sex with her and she is not his wife. So let's say that he is committing adultery with her and he never married her, and you see both of them. Can you leave your husband for that reason? The answer is no, really. Why? You can't. Now let's see some laws. Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 22. Going to go down verse 28 and 29. This is Deuteronomy chapter 22. Deuteronomy chapter 22. If a man finds a young woman who is not a virgin, who is not betrothed, and seizes her, we're going through this word already. This is not seize. This is entice. Because seize will be rape, and the Most High does not condone rape. This is entice. Enticing her. That is flirting with her, chasing her, toasting her, all the stuff that men do to get a woman. So it says if a man lies with a woman and they are found, and they will be found because she's a virgin. So if he has sex with her, it's just a matter of time before it will be, the whole thing will be exposed, because who took your virginity? If you're not married, if nobody married you, who was it that took your virginity? That question will eventually come up, because biblically, a woman is supposed to only lose her virginity to her husband. According to the same chapter, this chapter 22, Deuteronomy 22, 13 to 21. Deuteronomy 22, 13 to 21. A girl is not supposed to lose her virginity before her wedding night. So the Most High is saying here that if a man takes a girl's virginity, then the man that lay with her shall give the young woman's father 50 shekels of silver, and she shall be his wife, because he had humbled her. He shall not be permitted to divorce her all his days. So the man that took your virginity becomes your husband. That man is not allowed to divorce you because he's your husband. The man that took your virginity became your husband. He's not allowed to divorce you all his days. Now, Paul spoke about this in Romans chapter 7. Romans chapter 7. So Romans chapter 7, it says, or do you not know, brethren, for I speak to those who know the law, that the law has dominion over a man as long as he lives. For the woman who has a husband is bound by the law to her husband as long as he lives. Talking about this law right here. Paul was referring to this law. You are bound to your husband. Like he says, he is not allowed to divorce you. Why? Because he did what? Because he has humbled her. Humbling you means that he took your virginity. So because of this law, he's not allowed to divorce you, and you are not allowed to leave him either. Verse 2, Romans chapter 7, verse 2. Romans 7:2. For the law, for the woman who has a husband is bound by the law to her husband as long as he lives. That Deuteronomy chapter 22 is the place that the Most High said it. That if a man takes your virginity, he becomes your husband as long as he is alive. We continue. But if the husband dies, she is released from the law of her husband. So then, if while her husband lives, she marries another man, she will be called an adulteress. But if her husband dies, she is free from that law, so that she is no adulteress, though she has married another man. So according to this place, as long as your husband is alive, no other man can marry you. But if your husband dies, like he says here, but if the husband dies, she is freed from the law of her husband. This law right here in Deuteronomy chapter 22. You're free. Because the Most High said that as long as he is alive, he's your husband. He cannot divorce you. And Romans chapter 7 is saying that you cannot divorce him either. As long as he is alive, he's your husband. Now let's go to 1 Corinthians chapter 7. Verse 10 and 11. Now to the married I command, yet not I, but Yahushua, or Yah. A wife is not to depart from her husband, but even if she does depart, let her remain unmarried, or be reconciled to her husband. And a husband is not to divorce his wife. A husband is not to divorce his wife. A husband is not supposed to divorce his wife. Why? Because of this law. Deuteronomy chapter 22. Because of this law. This is 1 Corinthians chapter 7, verse 10 and 11. 1 Corinthians 7, 10 and 11. Say that a husband is not supposed to, cannot divorce his wife. A husband is not to divorce his wife. And a wife is not to depart from her husband. But even if she does depart, let her remain unmarried. Let her remain unmarried. Now let me ask you questions, my brothers and sisters. Why should she remain unmarried?
Because if she married another man, she becomes defiled. So she has to remain unmarried.
Okay, thank you. Let her remain unmarried. Because what Paul is saying here, you have to remember that Paul is going back to this law. What he's telling you here is based on this law. Because the Most High said that once a man takes a girl's virginity, he must pay her bride price and he cannot put her away. This is not rape. Because over here he talks about rape here. If a man rapes a young woman, that man is supposed to die. It says here, only the man who lays with her shall die. But you shall do nothing to the young woman. If a man rapes, see right here, forces. But if a man finds the betrothed young woman who is in the countryside, and the man forces her and lies with her, then only the man who lay with her shall die. But you shall do nothing to the young woman. There is nothing the young woman, there is in the young woman no sin deserving of death because she was raped. So the Most High gave us the law about rape. This right here is not talking about rape. This is talking about if a young man entices a young woman, you start convincing her that you love her, blah, 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 blah. The next thing, you're on top of her. You take her virginity. That's what the Most High is talking about here. Consensual sex. Consensual sex. We both agree to have sex. That's what the Most High is talking about here. So if a man takes your virginity, he becomes your husband, and you remain his wife. That's why Paul says right here in 1 Corinthians, Paul says that now, he says, now to the married I command, yet not I, but Yahushua, or Yah. He says, a wife is not to depart from her husband, but even if she departs, let her remain unmarried, or be reconciled to her husband. And a husband is not to divorce his wife. Now you come back to Romans chapter 7. It's telling you pretty much the same thing. It's telling you, so that as long as the man is alive, for the woman who has a husband is bound by the law to her husband, as long as he lives. Now, what law are we talking about again? Right here. Both Romans chapter 7 and 1 Corinthians chapter 7. Both of these places are referring back to Deuteronomy chapter 22. This is the law that they're referring to. According to this law, once a man takes your virginity, he becomes your husband, as long as he is alive. So you can't just pack your bag and leave just because he committed adultery. And we're going to get to that. We're going to get to that, but first, let's look. Hold on, sister. Sister, hold on, okay? So we're going to get to that. We're going to get to what happens. What if he commits adultery then? Like Paul says here, if you want to leave, he says in verse 11, 1 Corinthians 7 verse 11, but even if she departs, even if she does depart, let her remain unmarried. Why will she remain unmarried? Because the man that took her virginity is still alive. Her husband is still alive. Because the man is still alive, you have to remain by yourself until he dies. Until he dies, then you'll be free. You'll be free, like it says in Romans chapter 7 right here. It says in verse 2. Romans chapter 7 verse 2. But the woman who has a husband is bound by the law to her husband as long as he lives. But if the husband dies, she is released from that law of her husband. So then, if while her husband lives, she marries another man, she will be called an adulteress. But if her husband dies, she is free from that law, so that she is no adulteress, though she has married another man. It all goes back to this law in Deuteronomy 22, where the Most High makes it very clear that if a man takes your virginity, he becomes your husband, and no other man can marry you. And you know that back then, women were not as whorish as they are today. That's just a fact. You might be angry at me. You might feel bad. You might feel that I hate women or I'm insulting women. That is just the truth. You cannot compare people today to people back then. The world was not as whorish as it was back then. People did not do boyfriend and girlfriend back then. People did not do dating back then. People did not hang out back then. You know what hangout means, right? When teenagers say they're hanging out. When teenagers test each other and say, hey, you want to hang out? You know what it means, right? It means that they will meet. A girl will go to a boy's house. They will smoke weed, drinking, watching TV, having sex. That's what hangout means. If you understand their language, hanging out. They're just hanging out. They're just chilling. They're just hanging out. Yeah, people were not hanging out back in the day when people were actually following the scriptures. So the world back then is so different from the world today. The world was not as whorish as it is today. Back then, people actually kept their virginity until their wedding night. People actually kept their virginity until their wedding night. So this, everything you see in Romans chapter 7 and 1 Corinthians chapter 7 is pointing back to Deuteronomy 22. As long as the man that took your virginity is alive, you cannot have another husband. Even if he commits adultery. We're going to come back to that. But first, let me show you one more verse right here in chapter 7. Let's go down to verse 39 in 1 Corinthians chapter 7. Verse 39. Verse 39. 1 Corinthians 7:39. 1 Corinthians 7:39. A wife is bound by law as long as her husband lives. But if her husband dies, she is at liberty to be married to whom she wishes, only in Yah. But she is happier if she remains as she is, according to my judgment. And I think I also have the spirit of Elohim. So according to verse 39, he's telling you that a wife is bound by the law. He is repeating himself. The same thing he says in Romans chapter 7. So the congregation in Rome. So Paul knew this law in Deuteronomy 22. Paul was speaking because of this law that the Most High gave. Because of this law in Deuteronomy 22, because of this law, Paul was making it clear to you that a woman is bound by the law. Which law? The law in Deuteronomy 22, 28 and 29. It's 2 verse, but it's a big 2 verse. So a wife is bound by law as long as her husband lives. But if her husband dies, she is at liberty to be married to whom she wishes, only in Yah. So it's important to understand these things. And if we now come back to what we are looking at here with these people. No. Wait a minute. Where was I? 3. Okay. I need to go back exactly where I was.
Today's video is once again sponsored by Rood.
So, sister, go ahead. I think you have a question.
I want you to explain 1 Corinthians 7 and 27 for me.
1
Corinthians
7
and 27. Yeah.
1 Corinthians 7:27. Are you bound to a wife? Do not seek to be loosed. Are you loosed from a wife? Do not seek a wife. But even if you do marry, you have not sinned. And if a virgin marries, she has not sinned. Nevertheless, such will have trouble in the flesh, but I will spare you. Are you bound to a wife? Do not seek to be loosed. Are you loosed from a wife? Do not seek a wife. Now come down here to get the understanding of what it means. It says right here. It says this. A wife is bound by law as long as her husband lives. But if her husband dies, she is at liberty to be married to whomever she wishes, only in Yah. Look at verse 40. But she is happier if she remains as she is, according to my judgment. It's telling you that If a husband dies, you are free for another man to marry you. But he is telling you that you will be happier if you remain by yourself. The same advice that he gave women here, he also gave men in verse 22. It's just that he gave men the advice first before he gave it to the women. He also gave to the unmarried. He encouraged them to stay by themselves, not to marry, if possible. So this is just an advice to men. If you have a wife, then stay with your wife. If you don't have a wife, if you lose from a wife, maybe she died or something happened, do not seek a wife. Don't seek to remarry. But even if you do marry, you have not sinned. There's the reason why he's giving this advice. There is a reason why he was giving this advice. Because he goes on to tell you right here in verse 32. Look at this. This is why he's telling men, if you have a wife, then stay married. If for some reason you don't have a wife, it will be a good idea for you not to marry. But even if you go ahead and marry, that's fine. You're not committing any sin. Why? Look at verse 32. Verse 32. He goes on to give you the reason why. Why it's a good idea to stay unmarried. Here's the reason he gave you. But I want you to be without care. He who is unmarried cares for the things of Yah, how he may please Yah. But he who is married cares about the things of the world, how he may please his wife. Verse 34. There is a difference between a wife and a virgin. The unmarried woman cares about the things of Yah, that she may be holy both in body and in spirit. But she who is married cares about the things of the world, how she may please her husband. Verse 35. And this I say for your own profit, not that I may put a leash on you, like he putting a leash on a dog. I'm not trying to restrict you or prevent you from being married, but for what is proper, and that you may serve Yah without distraction. But if any man thinks he is behaving improperly towards his virgin, if she is past the flower of youth, and thus it must be, then let him do what he wishes. He does not sin. Let them marry. If you happen to be a man and a girl was betrothed to you, and that girl has seen the flower of her age, she has passed the flower of her age. The flower of her age, who knows what that means?
The flowers of her age is when she see her period, or the world say period, monthly period.
Thank you. Leviticus 15. Leviticus 15. Leviticus 15, the Most High described the blood that a woman sees during her monthly period as flour. That blood that comes out, you will see this in the middle of the chapter and at the end of the chapter of Leviticus 15. That blood that you see during your monthly period is called flour. In some modern translation, they remove the word flour. In King James and New King James, you will see flour. That blood is called flour. Just like the sperm that comes out of a man is called seed. Seed. Just like a baby in a woman's stomach is called fruit of the womb. So, still on the encouragement that Paul was giving to the congregation, he was advising them that it's better for you to stay unmarried, that you will be able to serve the Most High without distraction. But if you have a husband or a wife, you are more likely to focus in trying to please them and trying to, feed them, clothe them, or in the case of a woman, cook for him, wash his clothes. But Paul was giving you an opinion, because he goes on to tell you that if you go on to marry, that's fine too. He's not telling you not to marry, but he's advising you that if it's possible, don't marry, so that you can focus in serving the Most High. But if you go on to marry, that's fine. If you are a man and there's a girl betrothed to you, and she have started seeing her monthly period, go ahead and marry her, because that is the mark that the Most High put. That's how you know that the woman is ready. Once she starts seeing her monthly period, she's now ready for marriage. But if she's not seeing her monthly period, she's not ready. And typically, girls are betrothed sometimes before they see their monthly period, and then you have to wait for her to see her monthly period. That's why he said, but if any man thinks he's behaving properly towards his virgin, there's no point in lusting after a girl betrothed to you if she has seen her monthly period already. Then go ahead and marry her. You don't commit any sin. So what Paul was trying to say here in 1 Corinthians 7:27 is that he's encouraging people. It's better to focus on serving the Most High. Because when you are a husband or when you are a wife, you have to carry out the duties of a husband or duties of a wife. As a husband, your duty is to provide and protect and lead. Lead them to the Most High. Lead them to the kingdom. If you are by yourself, you have less responsibility. You don't have to worry about kids or feeding them. Same thing with women. If you're by yourself, you don't have to worry about your duties as a wife. That time can be used to serve the Most High. He also go on to give people who don't have a husband advice. Now, concerning virgins, I have no commandment from Yah, yet I give judgment as one whom Yah in his mercy has made trustworthy. Verse 26, I suppose therefore that it is good because of the present distress, that it is good for a man to remain as he is. Do you understand that? He said, concerning virgins, I have no commandment from Yah, yet I give judgment as one whom Yah in his mercy has made trustworthy. Verse 26, I suppose therefore that this is good because of the present distress, that it is good for a man to remain as he is. Are you bound to a wife? Do you have a wife? Because there's a covenant between a man and a woman. When you marry a wife, the right way, the right way, the right way, the right way, the right way. Why am I repeating myself? Because people no longer marry wives the right way. At least more than 90% of marriages in the world today are not done right. More than 90% of those who think that they are married, they are not married. When you marry a woman the right way, there is a covenant between you and her. And that covenant is sealed up when that blood came out of her body. When you took her virginity, that blood that comes out of her, when she bleeds, when you take her virginity, that is the blood of that covenant, the blood that sealed that covenant. That is the reason why the Most High commanded that a girl must remain a virgin. The Most High commanded in Deuteronomy 22 that if a girl loses her virginity before her wedding night, she should be put to death, killed. Deuteronomy 22, right here in this chapter, verse 13 to 21. Verse 13 to 21. Verse 13 to 21. Verse 13 to 21. If a girl lose her virginity while she's still in her father's house, the Most High says that girl is to be put to death. Right here. Verse 20. But if this thing is true, and the evidence of virginity are not found for the young woman, then they shall bring out the young woman to the door of her father's house, and the men of her city shall stone her to death with stones, because she has done disgraceful thing in Israel to play the harlot in her father's house. So you shall put away the evil from among you. A girl was supposed to keep her virginity until her wedding night. That was the reason why in Matthew chapter 1 verse 19, Matthew 1:19, Joseph wanted to put Mary away. When Joseph was thinking that Mary was no longer a virgin, when Joseph thought that Mary was not a virgin, Joseph wanted to put Mary away. Because when you do marriage the right way, the girl is supposed to be a virgin and then you marry her. And according to the law, right here in the same chapter, in verse 32, in this verse 28, 20, 29, once you take her virginity, she becomes your wife. That's why Paul was saying what he was saying in Romans chapter 7 and what he said in 1 Corinthians chapter 7. He was referring to the law in Deuteronomy 22. A wife is bound by the law as long as her husband lives. But if her husband dies, she is at liberty to be married to whom she wishes. But she is happier if she remains as she is, according to my judgment. And I think I also have the spirit of Elohim. So, sister, do you understand what verse 27 is saying?
Brother? You hear me, brother?
Sister, do you understand what verse 27 is saying?
No. No, I do not understand what verse 27 is saying right there. Because can I ask a question as well? Is two person, the male and the female? Cause I was thinking, the knowledge what I get is virgin to virgin. Because did a man born as a virgin and a woman born as a virgin? Because he said, do not let the married bed defile. So, and he said, every man must have his own husband and every woman must have her own right man. So, the both person don't born as a virgin. I don't get that really.
You don't get what?
No, I'm asking if the both person born as a virgin. 'Cause I would think said it would be virgin to virgin marriage. That's the way we'd come in. So,
Okay. So when when God gave David Saul's wives to become his wife, was David a virgin? Do you think?
No, no, as far as I see.
Okay.
So,
So
but in that, sorry, in Malachi 12 and 14, right? Malachi 12, he say was a witness when there were youth. Where it is? If Malachi 12 and 14, because normally I am telling my son, said he must keep his virginity and that girl must furnish it in that. Uh, that when the both of them, they did not defile each other.
so what are you saying? That it seems to me like you're saying that the man and the woman is supposed to be a virgin before they marry.
Yeah, that's what I think. That's what the knowledge what I get.
Yes, I do encourage young men to keep themselves pure. But first of all, you have to understand that there's nothing like a man being a virgin. There's nothing like that. Now, let me give you an example that I usually give people. Sister, can you hear me?
Yes, but I'm hearing you.
Okay, sister, I want you to imagine. I want you to imagine right now. So say that you are a virgin. Let's just assume that you are a virgin. You've never known a man. I am a virgin. I have never known any woman. You're pure, I am pure. Then one day, I got ready, I dressed up, I go out to my friend. My friends took me to a party. I go there and I have sex with a woman. After that, I take a shower, I dress up, I come back home. Sister, will you be able to know that I've lost my virginity?
No. Can I ask? No. No. But it
You
is right that way?
No, I'm asking, will you be able to know that I am no longer
No,
a
no,
virgin? Is there a way for
no.
you to know?
I think there, what I'm asking you, because I am a woman, I
Okay,
know blood come from me. What I'm asking,
hold on, sister. Okay. Now, if the same thing happened the other way around, let's say you go out, you are a virgin, I am a virgin, we live together or something, and you go out and you go to your friends and they took you to a party, and then you lose your virginity, and then you take a shower and dress up and come back home. Do you think I will be able to know that you're no longer a virgin?
I don't know. I don't know, honestly.
You don't know if I will be able to know that you're no longer a virgin. You don't know that.
No, I don't know, honestly, I'm telling you.
Okay.
Because
Okay.
that's what I am,
Okay.
what I'm saying.
So
That's what they have to sheet as evidence. So,
okay. So what happens? What happens when a woman loses her virginity? Are you familiar with what happens?
yeah, you see blood at the first time and pain and so forth. But I don't know about the man then. How
Or
it goes.
you don't know if a man sees the blood when they lose their virginity?
Right. I
Oh,
don't know.
okay. Okay. They don't see blood. They don't. Okay. So the point is that only the woman can be a virgin. Like only the woman. You cannot. I can tell you that I'm a virgin right now. There's no way for you to know. There's no way for you to know except from what I told you. But if a woman tells me that she's a virgin, there's a way for me to know. So virginity is only for women. But at the same time, a man is supposed to keep himself pure. I have literatures. I have materials that I put together that I give to young people. I go out, I take it with me, I give it to young people. I have one that I made for young girls, one I made for boys, for girls, boys, and for mothers, for parents. I have one for parents, I have one for young people, encouraging them to keep their virginity until their wedding night. I share it with boys, with girls, with their parents. I encourage people to keep themselves pure. So virginity. My point is, a boy is supposed to keep themselves pure. So if you're teaching your son like that to keep himself until his wedding night, that's good. But at the same time, you have to have full understanding and understand that you cannot tell your daughter that only a man who is a virgin can marry her. You can't teach your daughter that only a man who is a virgin is supposed to marry her, because your daughter might end up living by herself for the rest of her life. So virginity is only men is the only one who are virgins. And I asked you a question in the beginning. My question was, when the Most High gave wives to David, was he a virgin? Because he already have 2 women at least that was given to him, or that he took as wives. At least Abigail, plus the one that Saul's daughter, Micheal. Although he did not have sex with Micheal, from what we're seeing. Well, later on he did not have sex with her, but but initially, so that story is there between Saul and David and his daughter. He gave his daughter to David. But my point is that David was not a virgin. A man cannot be a virgin, but that doesn't mean that a man should be. Hold on, sister. Let me finish. Okay. Listen. You asked me something. I'm explaining. Okay. So a man cannot physically be a virgin. What I'm explaining to you is very important for you to understand this, because if you go and teach your daughter to only allow a virgin man to marry her, that will be it will be very bad. Like, because a man cannot physically be a virgin, okay? But virginity is only is physically, a woman is only one that can be a virgin. So so because a man, like it says in 1 Corinthians chapter 11 verse 8 and 9, 1 Corinthians 11 8 and 9, that a woman was made for the man and not a man for the woman. A woman was made for the man. So a woman was made to be with one man at a time, as you can see from these places that we read. First Corinthians chapter 7, Romans chapter 7 also. A woman was made to be with one man at a time. So a man can have multiple women at a time as wives, but a woman cannot have multiple men at a time as husbands, because we're not created the same way. The woman was created for the man and not the man for the woman. So please go ahead in what you wanted to ask.
Yeah. What I told my daughter is, as what you said, virgin to virgin. And if that's how widow come in, I told her, if her partner die and if the next person partner die will take virgin to virgin, die, the both of them can marry back. The both of them can have sex, because that partner die. So the both of them can have sex back. That's what I told her. That's what the knowledge what I had to get. Says that's how come widow coming. Because this person take that person virgin to virgin, that person take that virgin to virgin. So if that person partner die and that person partner die, well, you and that person can go back to have sex, because both of them are widow. They are both widow there. That's what I was trying to explain to her, as well to my son as well. So
yeah,
I know. So for instance now, like so for instance, your son, he furnished the garden. can he go back and have sex with somebody else? Oh no, you said there is no virgin.
Sorry, could you
You
repeat your
said
question?
suppose, for instance, he never take a person virginity yet, right? And can he go and like defile his body as well, as far as I'm concerned? So can he go and have sex with a virgin? No. Like, oh, it's bad because I never have sex with a virgin. That's what I was trying to get the understanding there.
Can who have sex with a virgin?
All right. So for instance, he go and have sex with somebody, but he never was a virgin before when he go and have sex the first time, right? But can he now, all right, say he go and have sex now, but he's a virgin and have to have sex with? Though he have sex with somebody else, person, because a virginity done gone off already, right? But he have sex with her. What I'm saying, is he to be alone now, or he can go and have sex with a virgin and he's okay?
Are you talking about like a son, like a boy?
Yeah, right.
Can he have sex with a virgin?
No, what I'm saying, suppose for instance, he have sex with someone, virginity already gone, and he never have sex with a virgin then, for instance, like that. Can he go and have sex with a virgin now and okay?
Yeah, if you're saying that in the past he had sex with somebody and that person was not a virgin,
right?
Can he now have sex with a virgin now?
You're right.
Yes, he can, but that virgin will now become his wife. So he shouldn't have sex with a virgin until he pays the bride price. He can only have sex with a virgin now after he pays, after he pays the bride price. He has to pay a bride price because the person you have sex with is supposed to be your wife. In the sight of the Most High and according to the law of the Most High, you have to marry a woman and then have sex with her. So even though he had sex with women in the past, they may not be virgins. He can marry a woman. She has to be a virgin or a widow. A widow means that that woman was a virgin and a man married her, and that man that married her took her virginity, and then that man dies. Then your son can marry her because she's only been with one man, and that man dies. That makes her a widow. But if she's been with multiple men after her husband died, she's not a virgin. She's been defiled. Your son cannot marry her. So even though your son have been with other women in the past, they may not be a virgin. He can still marry a woman. But the thing is that woman has to be a virgin, and first of all, he has to pay her bride price. He has to come to you and tell you that he saw this woman that he wants to marry, and then you will look into it. If you like her, if you approve of it, then you will go and pay her bride price. Tell her parents that you want to marry her, your son wants to marry her. Her parents will look into it, her parents will agree, and then your son will marry her before he can now have sex with her and take her virginity, and she becomes his wife.
Well, I think a man was born as a virgin as well, honestly.
It's what?
I think honestly a man is born as a virgin as well. I mean, never have intercourse, is a virgin. I never know that. I said no, I never recognize.
Yeah, every man and every woman, when they are created, when they are born, they are pure. They have never had sex. And the Most High wants every man to remain pure until he actually marries a wife like Isaac, Abraham's son. Remain pure, even up to being 40. Like he had sex with his wife after she was married, after Rebecca was married, after he married Rebecca, he now had sex with her. So a man is supposed to keep himself pure until he marries a woman. Now, if a man goes and have sex with a woman that he did not marry, that is called an adultery. That is sexual sin. And the Bible says that no adulterer will be allowed into the kingdom. That person will not be allowed into the kingdom. So men are not encouraged to just do whatever they want. No, we must abstain from sexual sin. Sexual sin. So a man cannot just have sex with any woman that agrees or any woman that he sees. No. So the woman, for you to have sex with a woman, she must be your wife. She must be your wife. If a man have sex with a woman who is not his wife, that is sexual sin. That is adultery. And the Most High has zero tolerance for that. Now you see why the Most High responded the way he responded towards David. So, if a man marries a woman or women, he can have sex. A man can have sex with any woman as long as he marries her. You remember that she has to be a virgin. That's preferably. Okay, do you have any other question?
All right, can I read Malachi 2:14 for me and tell me what I get from it, please?
Malachi 2:13 and 14. And this is this,
Malachi 2 and 14.
Yeah, but it starts from verse 13.
Okay.
Yeah, the what the Messiah was saying there started from verse 14. Like it started from verse 13. It says, and this is the second thing you do. You cover the altar of Yahweh with tears, with weeping and crying. So he does not regard the offering anymore, nor receive it with goodwill from your hands. So the Messiah is saying that they are crying. These men are crying in the altar. They are weeping and crying because the Most High stopped receiving their offerings. The Most High stopped receiving their offerings. All the stuff they are doing to please Yah was no longer accepted. And they don't know why. They do not know why. Why did he stop accepting our offering? What did we do? So they will go inside the worship center and they will get on their knees and they will be crying. That is verse 13. Malachi 2:13. So in verse 14, the Most High now go on to tell them the reason why he stopped accepting their prayers. That is verse 14. Yet you say, for what reason? So they offer offering, the Most High does not accept. They pray, they weep, they offer all this stuff, he stopped accepting. Verse 14, they are asking why. Why? How come the Most High no longer accept our prayer or our offering? The Most High now tells them in verse 14. Yet you say, for what reason? For what reason was our offering no longer being accepted? The Most High now tells them the reason why. Because Yahweh has been witness. Yahweh has been witness between you and the wife of your youth, with whom you have dealt treacherously. Yet she is your companion and your wife by covenant. Your wife by covenant. Your wife by covenant. So the Most High said that the reason why he stopped accepting their offering, the reason why he stopped accepting the offerings of these men, the priests, was because of they are dealing with their wife treacherously. They dealt with their wife treacherously. That's why the Most High stopped accepting their prayers, accepting their offering, because they dealt with their wife treacherously. 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 If we look at man-made definition, guilty of, characterized by betrayal of confidence or trust, perfidious, characterized by unforeseen or hidden hazards, dangers or deceptive, treacherous waters, treacherous footing. That's man-made definition of treacherous. But
The
what
word
was the Most High
youth,
actually? What?
the word
Excuse
youth,
me.
what it mean? The word youth, what it signify? Because I look for it one time, it means virgin as well, youth.
Youth, it depends on the translation you're looking at. It's talking about like a young woman, a youth, young woman. Somebody is who youth, you know, but the age of, between the age of 10 and like 20, you know, somebody, I'm not putting a number there, but a youth, somebody who is still young. So the Most High is saying here that the reason why he stopped accepting their prayers or their offering is because he was a witness. He saw what they were doing or what they did to their wives, who they deal with. He dealt with treacherously. They dealt with her treacherously. So let me give you a biblical definition of what the Most High is talking about here. What the Most High is describing here. What the Most High was telling them, that he witnessed what they did to their wives. He witnessed what they did. And because of that, he stopped answering their prayers because of this particular act, this thing that they had committed, that caused him to also to stop answering their prayer. So they now begin to cry. They begin to mourn. They begin to wonder, what did we do? They will go inside the worship center and they will be crying. Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 21. Deuteronomy 21. I want to give you an example of what the Most High told us not to do. And when you do something like that, the Most High will be against you. When you do something like that to your wife, when you do something like that to your wife, the Most High will be against you. You will never have peace, and he will not answer your prayer. He will not answer your prayer. So I want to give you this chapter, Malachi chapter 2:14. The reason why the Most High turned against this men, because of what they did to their wife. And I want to give you an example of what they did to their wife. Deuteronomy chapter 21 from verse 15. Deuteronomy chapter 21 from verse 15. Deuteronomy 21 from verse 15. If a man has two wives, one loved and the other unloved, and they have borne him children, both the loved and the unloved. So if a man have two wives, he loves one of the wives, he doesn't love the other one, and both of those wives have given him children. The first wife has children, second wife has children. That's what the Most High is talking about. If a man has two wives, one loved and the other unloved, and they have borne him children, both the loved and the unloved. And if the firstborn is of her who is unloved, if the woman that he does not love, or he stopped loving, if she was the one that gave birth to the first son, verse 16, Deuteronomy 21:16, then it shall be on the day he bequests his possessions to his sons, that he must not bestow firstborn status on the son of the loved wife, in preference to the son of the unloved. For the true firstborn, verse 17, but he shall acknowledge the son of the unloved wife, as the firstborn, by giving him a double portion of all that he has. For he is the beginning of his strength. The right of the firstborn is his. So if your son has 2 wives, your son married a woman and everything was fine, she became pregnant, she gave birth to a son, she gave birth to children. For some reason, your son starts having problem with his wife. They start having problems, and your son marries another wife, and your son no longer loves his wife, and he marries another one, and the second one comes in, and your son loves her, but he no longer loves his first wife. The second wife comes in and starts having children. The Most High is commanding us here that when it is time for your son to share his property, when it's time for your son to share his wealth and give what he has to his children, your son is not supposed to give what belongs to the firstborn. He's not supposed to give that. He's not supposed to give that to the son of the second wife. Your son cannot take what belongs to a firstborn. Half of the property, double of the property, belongs to the firstborn. Whether your son likes his mother or not, it doesn't matter. The right of the firstborn cannot be taken away from this boy and given to the other boy just because you don't like his mother. Just because you have problem or issue with your wife doesn't mean you should deny her son the right of the firstborn. Even if you don't like her, even if you hate her, you cannot take what belongs to her son, who is the firstborn, and give it to the son of the second woman just because you love her. That's what the Most High is talking about here. That's why he gave us this law. When you do that, because you love the second wife much more, when you do that, the Most High will be against you. Sister, do you understand that?
Yes, brother, I see that part, but it's hard to swallow, honestly.
All right. So we're going to continue. Oh, you don't have to be honest with me. You don't have to be honest with me. You can swallow it, or you can take it out and keep it and think about it. You know, Yeah, you can swallow it. I mean, there's
Because
nothing there. There's nothing there to swallow. This is what the Most High says. So we either do it His way, or we continue to do it the Gentile way. More than 50% of the marriages in America ends in divorce. More than 50% of the so-called marriage end in divorce. So we could either go
no,
back and
I agree.
follow what the Most High says, or we could continue
No,
following the hidden.
I no, I'd agree. I'm surely agree with the virgin. God, that is so perfect. I surely agree with that part. But I was just looking at like uh, a man another go out there that have how much the next man I get. If him the mar it just not laughing matter, but you know, it just because they say because a man will just get up and I'm married, like if he take one wife. So what about the next man? How much wife him I get? If a man decide to have 12 wives, and suppose for instance that 12 woman out there, just put it like that. What the next man I get?
I don't understand what you're saying, sister, but it seems to me
No.
like it seems to me like as I said, this is not really a study about polygamy. A lot of people, a lot of women don't agree with polygamy. And if you know who I am, if you understand, you know that I don't really like so the thing is that, as you can see here, okay, I'm going to I wanted to branch out and deal with this question that you have. I'm trying to keep it within the topic. You know, I like to stay on point. I don't want this to deviate and go into polygamy, because the question is, what happens if a woman sees her husband with another man? So we've seen the things. Yeah. So if we have a question about polygamy, we could do that some other time. So we've seen Romans chapter 7. We've seen what it says in Romans chapter 7, and I would like to refresh your memory, my brothers and sisters, as to what it's saying here, because for you to understand what we're dealing with here and how to respond in that situation, you have to understand everything that we just went through. So I feel like we kind of like went away a little bit from this. So this is saying, let's recap. Let's just, do like a flashback. Romans chapter 7 is telling you that for the woman who has a husband is bound by the law to her husband as long as he lives. But if the husband dies, she is released from the law of her husband. 1 Corinthians chapter 7 is telling us in verse 39. 1 Corinthians 7:39. A wife is bound by law as long as her husband lives. But if her husband dies, she is at liberty to be married to whom she wishes, only in Yah. So they're saying the same thing basically. And it does say here that if she wants to depart, let her remain unmarried. Verse 10, 1 Corinthians 7:10. Now to the unmarried I command, yet not I, but Yah. A wife is not to depart from her husband, but even if she does depart, let her remain unmarried or be reconciled to her husband. And a husband is not to divorce his wife. So all of these Bible verses that we've seen here was written because of what the law that the Most High gave here. Once a man takes a girl's virginity, that man becomes the husband of that woman. Once a man takes the virginity of a girl, that man becomes her husband. And that man is not allowed to put her away all his days. So, and that woman cannot have any other husband. The man that took your virginity, as long as he is alive, no man can marry you. If any other man marries you, it's an adultery, according to Romans chapter 7. That is an adultery. It says in verse 3, so then, while her husband lives, she marries another man, she will be called an adulteress. But if her husband dies, she is free from that law, so that she is no adulteress, though she has married another man. So that's what this is all saying. So we're going to come back to these people. We're going to come back to these people Just bear with me as soon as I get rid of these filthy, disgusting heathens who are trying to sell us something. Bunch of animals, always trying to sell you something. Always trying to sell you something. Children of Satan. Okay, so this is where I got it before. All right, so now let's come back to these people. All right, my brothers and sisters. So looking at Romans chapter 7, 1 Corinthians chapter 7, which points you back to Deuteronomy chapter 22, 28 and 29. If this man married this woman, took her virginity, she becomes his wife. She is the first wife. According to what we saw in Romans chapter 7, according to what we saw in Romans chapter 7, as long as this man is alive, no other man can marry this woman. As long as he is alive. In 1 Corinthians chapter 7, 1 Corinthians 7, verse 10 and 11, it says that if she wants to leave him, she can leave, but she must remain unmarried as long as he is alive. Once he dies, then she is free for somebody else to marry her because he is the one that took her virginity. My brothers and sisters, this woman right here cannot divorce her husband just because he had sex with this woman. If he, after marrying this one, if she is his wife, if after marrying her, he goes on to have sex with her, if he goes on to marry her and have sex with her, she is his wife too, because he married her. He married her, just like he married her. And both of them becomes his wife. Just like the Most High says, if a man has two wives, if a man have two wives, the Most High told us, right here, if a man has two wives, the Most High will not tell you if a man has two wives and he loves one and he doesn't love the other, make sure that you gave most of your property to the son that was the firstborn. The Most High will not give you a law like this if it's sinful to have two wives. The Most High will never give you a commandment like this. It is not sinful. It is not bad or sinful to have two wives. If it is, the Most High will not give you this law. So, these people, according to the law of the Most High, just bear with me. I want to get this back. Just bear with me. Hold on. Come on. Okay. Here we go. Okay. So these people, according to the law of the Most High. Now, I want to say something deep right now. Please listen carefully. What I'm about to add in right now, I have not added this. And you have to understand this. What I'm about to say right now is very important. Listen carefully, my brothers and sisters. Listen carefully. I want to add something into this right now to take us to increase the understanding that we have right now. Listen. This woman is his wife. He is her husband. In the sight of the Most High, they are married. As long as he is the one that took her virginity, they are married. Now, what happens if she comes back one day and knocks on the door or open the door and see him on top of her, and she is a strange woman? She has never seen her before. And whatever he's doing with her, he's doing it in hiding. He did not marry her. This woman happened to be a complete stranger. Absolute stranger. Complete stranger. Everything they were doing in secret. And he has no plan of marrying her. Say he has no plan of marrying her. And he was just having sex with her in secret. In the sight of the Most High, they are committing adultery. In the sight of the Most High, what they are doing is adultery. Because he did not marry her. He was just having sex with her in the secret, privately, in the hidden. Even though he has this wife. The sin that he is committing is because he did not marry her. So he's committing adultery. So in that case, according to the law of the Most High, according to the law, can you please tell me, my brothers and sisters, what did the Most High say should happen to a man and a woman caught committing adultery? Tell me. The answer to this question is very important to what we are studying.
He said the both of them should die. Both of them should die? Put to death?
Okay, who else is answering?
Leviticus 20 and 10 telling me that.
Okay, thank you, sister. Who else is answering?
Yeah, according to Deuteronomy 22, both of them will be put to death by stone.
Okay. All right. So hold on to that law. Hold on to that law. And I want you to now bring that law in. Bring that law in. Right now, he is her husband. He is committing adultery with her. Remember that she cannot remarry as long as he is alive. So in a place where we are following the law of the Most High, if he commits adultery, he is supposed to be put to death. That frees her. So if you are a woman and your husband commits adultery, your husband is supposed to be put to death. And if your husband gets killed, that makes you a widow. And if you become a widow, that makes you free for somebody else to marry you. That's why the Most High put that law there. If your husband commits adultery, your husband is supposed to be put to death. Just like a young girl that loses her virginity, she's supposed to be put to death. If she loses her virginity without having a husband. So, if a woman ever sees her husband having sex with a strange woman that he did not marry, she can start screaming or tell the people or tell the elders, and they will investigate, and her husband will be put to death. If it is true, if there are witnesses, he and the woman will be put to death. And that makes her a widow. And that makes her free from the law of the Most High. when it comes to marriage, and somebody else can marry her. That is, if the woman he was dealing with was not his wife. The Most High will be against him because he's committing adultery. And the Bible is very clear that no adulterer will be allowed into the kingdom. So what he is doing will become sin in the sight of the Most High if he did not marry that woman and he was just having sex with her without marrying her. But if he marries her, if she is his wife, it is not sin. So she might walk into the room and see him having sex with her. He's not committing any sin because she is his wife in the sight of the Most High. Now, let me play this video a little bit. Just watch a little bit. If you have a question, hold on to your question because I'm about to ask if anybody has any question. Just hold on. Let's watch this a little bit more.
Told me I'll settle after having 20 wives. This one here is my first wife. Wives. My goal is to have 20 wives. So there remain 8 wives for my goal to be achieved. The one who inherited me these magics and medicine told me I'll settle after having 20 wives. This one here is my first wife. Well, I'm the elder wife. We have spent 16 years living together. I have produced 8 children for this handsome man. He never told me he would bring a second wife. I didn't see that coming. And after 2 years living together, he brought another wife. We never had competition between us. All we do is work together for a common interest. I'm the second wife. I have spent 14 years living peacefully with this man and other wives. I'm the third wife. He approached me back in the village where we met and he proposed me. He said he wants to make me a wife, and he honestly told me that he has other 2 wives. I loved him, but I wondered whether those 2 wives would not think I'm a prostitute, or whether they would not think that I've come to take them down. But he said, worry not, I'll handle that. And when I came, this one and the other one happily welcomed me. He treated us good. That's why we kept coming, and he has given us everything. We have never lacked something, and in addition, he taught us love. We all love one another, and we help each other. I'm the 5th wife. Due to his care and his love, that's what attracted me to come. Though I knew that he...
I apologize about the interruption.
I'm the 6th wife. We have spent together 7 years. And among those 7 years, I have spent 2 years at home. We fell in love when I was still at my parents' house. He was friendly with my family. We first met at home. He often visited my parents. They were friendly, and in that process, we fell in love. I'm the 8th wife. He's 12 years older than me. When we met, I already knew that he had other wives, but I never cared. I loved him, and he also loved me. And because of his good and kind heart, I said, why not? I joined the queue, and I'm not worried that he will bring more wives. I'm the last wife so far, before he brings a few more other wives. And I think I'm the youngest of all these other wives. There are 11 wives ahead of me, but we live in harmony. We understand each other and we share everything together. Before bringing me, he told me that he has other wives, and I accepted living with him despite a number of extra wives he has. And right now, I have no problem with that. Each one of these wives live here in this house. and this makes me visit them one by one at night. I visit the elder wife twice a week, on Tuesday and Thursday, then go to others. She is the priority. That's why I visit her more often. Does he satisfy you in terms of making love? We asked. Yeah, he does. And we are satisfied with his bed availability, though he comes to me once in 5 days. Everyone has her own timetable, and we are okay with that. We know that we are many, and we know we share one husband. There is once I felt like divorcing. I once went to withdraw a lot of money, and when coming back, I lost all that money. I told him what happened, and he said if he...
I apologize again. They're always trying to sell you something. Oh.
You don't find that money, I'll kill you. And I ran away to my mother's place. But I could not settle. I had no peace of mind, no sleep. I could hear some voices telling me, go back, this is not your home. I called him and said, why is it that I'm not calming down? He told me to come back here, and I returned. I had ran away because of fear. But of course, he would not kill me. There are some medicine I have that brings back women who have left their homes. So I use it to bring them back, no matter what and where they're going. And what they're doing at that moment, they just come back. That's what we call traditional medicine. See them all. They're here. No one, not even a president, can have all of these. None of my wife is hungry. See how they look.
All right, I think I should hold it here. So this being the first wife, she is the first wife, as he said. They've been together for 16 years. And looks like she is the second wife. So he did make a statement that she is the priority. So she is the head wife, like what the Most High was saying there in Deuteronomy 21 from verse 15. The Most High talked about the woman that gave birth to the first son. Whether you love her or not, her son will receive priority as the first son, your first child, or your first son. So, so this man right here, going back to our question, any kind of sexual relation he is having with these women are not adultery, as long as he married them. It's not adultery. You know that the Gentiles will say that she is his wife and that they are concubines. But that's not true in the sight of the Most High. In the sight of the Most High, they are not concubine. They are his wife. That is, if they were virgins when he married them. If they were virgins, and that's why I do not talk about polygamy much, because most people who are doing polygamy are doing it the wrong way. They are doing it the wrong way. The women that they're marrying are not virgins or true widows. She has to be a virgin or a true widow. So, as long as he took their virginities, they are his wife. It's not going to be what the Gentiles call cheating. Cheating. Like you saw in the videos that I showed you. Women, husband cheating on their wife. Cheating. Cheat. So according to the heathen, according to the Gentiles, according to the Europeans, like him having a wife, anything that he does with this woman, they will call cheating. Or anything that he does with this woman, they will call cheating. Cheating. Because that is a mindset that says that only both of them can be, he can only marry her. So anything that he does outside of their marriage is now called cheating. Yeah, it will be cheating. It's not even, that term should not even be used. It should be called adultery. So if he marries her and then he goes and messes with a woman that is not his wife, if he has sex with a woman that he did not marry, it is not cheating, it is adultery. We should call it exactly what it is in the sight of the Most High. Having sex with a woman who is not your wife is called adultery. And you are waving your finger in the face of the Most High when you do that. You're insulting the Most High when you do that. The Most High hates sinners. The Most High does not tolerate adulterers, whether they are men or women. They are to be put to death. So, what you do when you come back home and see your husband with another woman, what you do depends on who she is. If you are a woman and you quote unquote catches your husband, you see your husband having sex with another woman, the way you will react depends on who she is. If he married her, you're not supposed to do anything. Anything you do, if you act a certain way, that will be disrespectful. As long as that woman is his wife, he is not doing anything wrong or committing any sin. In the sight of the Most High, he's not. If that woman was not his wife, then he is committing adultery. And even the Most High will be against him. So the way a woman reacts in this situation depends on who the woman in question is. If you come back or if you meet your husband having sex with a woman and he did not marry that woman, then that is adultery. He was committing adultery. And even if you leave, you cannot remarry. So you cannot come back home and see your husband on top of another woman and then you pack your bag and leave and go and remarry. You cannot do that. Why? Because the law says that as long as he is alive, you cannot remarry. We saw that in 1 Corinthians chapter 7, verse 1 to 3. 1 Corinthians chapter 7, verse 10 and 11. That's where you see it. Verse 1 to 3 is in chapter 7 of Romans. So Romans chapter 7, verse 1 to 3, you see it very clearly. As long as the man that took your virginity, who is your husband, is alive, you cannot remarry. Your husband is not the man you're living with, actually, who did not take your virginity. Your husband in the sight of the Most High is the man that took your virginity. He is your husband in the sight of the Most High. He is the one that counts. If you are living with a man that did not take your virginity, he is not your husband. You are living in adultery. John chapter 4. 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 Yeshua told that woman, the man you live with is not your husband. The man you live with is not your husband. Because he was not the one that took her virginity. She has been with other men. Yeshua said, the man you are with is not your husband. So as long as the man that took your virginity is still alive, no other man can marry you. If a man takes your virginity and marries you, if a man marries you and takes your virginity, he is your husband. You cannot divorce him as long as he is alive. Even if you catch him on top of another woman committing adultery, you still cannot divorce him. If you want to divorce him so bad, then you report him to the elders that he committed adultery. You show your evidence, he will be put to death. Now you become free. But if you want to leave him, if you want to leave him, if he committed adultery, if he committed adultery and you're so disgusted and you want to leave him, according to 1 Corinthians chapter 7, verse 10 and 11, yes, you can leave, but you cannot remarry because he is still alive. Once he is dead, you can now have another husband. So it's not a situation where you can say, yeah, I'm going to leave because I caught him committing adultery. He committed adultery, so I'm going to leave. Yeah, well, Paul says you can leave, but you cannot remarry. And Paul was not saying it from his own authority. Paul was saying it because of what the Most High said in Deuteronomy 22. According to Deuteronomy 22, as long as the man is alive, you cannot remarry. Whether he is an adulterous, whether he committed adultery or not, you cannot remarry. So what you do is to make sure if he committed adultery truly, if he truly committed adultery, then he has to be put to death. If, because sometimes you might ask and be like, okay, because I know that question might come up. This question might come up right now and you'll be like, okay, brother, I see what you're saying, but you know that we don't live in that time anymore. We live in a new time. Somebody might have that question and say, we don't live at that period anymore. Things has changed. We don't have the elders anymore. We don't have the temple anymore. We don't have those who are enforcing the law of the Most High anymore. So how do you put him to death? My sister, get on your knees. Get on your knees. That same God that killed Abigail's husband will kill your husband for you. And I'm not kidding. The Most High said that thou shalt not commit adultery. If your husband go and commit adultery, you cannot divorce him just because he committed adultery. As long as he is alive, he is your husband. Him committing adultery cannot separate both of you. The only thing that can separate you is death. So if you live in the year 2020 or 2021, and there is no elders to report to, the Israelites are no longer intact together. The law of the Most High is no longer being enforced. And you're asking, brother, what happens? Who is going to kill him? What happens? He committed adultery. Yeah, start praying. And before you start praying, go and read 1 Samuel chapter 25. You see how the Most High killed Abigail's husband before she became a widow. And then David married her. Just like the Most High killed Abigail's husband, if your husband dares the Most High to commit adultery, the Most High will kill him too. And hey, call me. I will join you in that prayer. And I'm not kidding. I am not kidding. Listen, if you are a virgin when your husband married you, if you are a virgin when your husband married you, if you were a virgin when he married you, he is your husband and no other man has ever touched you except him. He's your husband. And then he dares the Most High to go and commit adultery. He dares the Most High to go and have sex with a woman he did not marry. He committed adultery. I will join you in that prayer, and my prayer will be for the Most High to kill him. Because once the Most High kills him, once he dies, he can die of car accident. He can die of heart attack. There are a million ways he can die. I will join you in that prayer. Once he dies, you will become free for anyone else that you want to marry you. You're free to remarry. But as long as he is alive, you cannot remarry. Nobody can marry you. You cannot go and have another husband just because your husband committed adultery. No. That goes against the law. So your husband disobeyed the Most High by committing adultery. Now you're going to disobey the Most High by committing adultery. Because while your husband is alive, even though he committed adultery by having sex with a woman who is not his wife, if you yourself leave him to go and be with another man and start having sex with that man, you are also committing adultery, according to Romans chapter 7. That would be a foolish thing to do. The wisest thing to do is to calm down and start praying. Get on your damn knee and start praying. Praying against him, telling the Most High to make you a widow. But you have to have an evidence. You cannot start praying against your husband because your friend told you that he saw your husband in front of a hotel with a woman. That is not an evidence. You have to have 100% proof. You have to have 2 or 3 witnesses, or you have to see with your own eyes. Don't go and take the law of the Most High into your hand and go and kill him. Don't poison him. Don't kill him. No. Pray for the Most High to kill him. Because if you go and kill him, they might suspect you. And if it turns out that you are the one that killed him, you might end up in jail for a long time. That will not be wise. Let the Most High kill him. Hand it over into the hands of the Most High. Never stop praying. Pray every day, except on the Sabbath. Pray every day for the Most High to kill him. If you have 100% evidence, if you caught him red-handed, having sex with a woman who he did not marry, that is an adultery. I will stand with you in prayer against him for him to die, for you to become free. If he doesn't die, you will not be free to remarry. He has to die for you to become free in remarrying. And you're not the one that will go and kill him. You turn to the Most High. He can go to bed one day and never wake up. He can die of heart attack. He can have a car accident and die. There are many ways he can die. There are many, 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 many ways the Most High will take him out. Go and read 1 Samuel chapter 25 and see what the Most High did to Abigail's husband. The Most High can kill him in many ways, and that will make you free. So that is how you handle it. My brothers and sisters, does that make sense? Do you understand what we went through? The sister that asked the question, are you still here? Does this answer your question? Because your question is, what do you do when you come back home and see your husband with another man?
Yes, I do understand. Yes, I do understand, brother.
Okay, good.
Thanks for your explanation. Thanks,
all right,
my brother.
All praises to our Heavenly Father, all praises. So does anybody have any question, any other question relating to this? Any question? All right, let's go ahead and finish up the video. Finish up the video as it's playing. Let's see.
But before, she worried about what we will feed on. This mother of 8 here, I got married to her when we had extreme poverty. I used to repair shoes on the street, and by then we had no own house. We rented. Later, God helped me, and I learned traditional medicine. I had luck in that department. That's how my career started. And now, I'm the best traditional doctor in the country. This one also tried to run away from me. But I have my spiritual powers that brought her back to me. I gave her capital and she established her own business. She's a businesswoman. And later people would tell her a lot of words, that I'm a witch doctor, a wizard, etc. That made her change her mind and decide to go. I never went to bring her back, but my powers brought her back and she apologized.
Sorry about that. I think they have another ad coming up. I try to avoid these advertisements. I don't know how they're creeping in. I have a way of avoiding them, but for some reason they keep bringing in these ads.
So then I said to him,
All right, so I have one more video I would like to show you. Let's see, since we're here, let's see this video. Let's check this one out. The question at hand right now, the question that we just addressed is not really a polygamy question, but you cannot answer this question without addressing polygamy. It's impossible. But let's go ahead and so it's impossible. So let's go. Let's see this video.
Arraigned in a Nigerian court for having 86 wives, he was arrested after challenging any Muslim to prove it was against the laws of Islam to keep more than 4. This is the apartment block where Mohammed Bello housed his women and over 150 children. They're outraged at his arrest and say he's a good husband and father. They strongly believe God ordained their marriages.
A man can have one wife, only one wife or 2 wives. He will get problem. Somebody should think twice that a man with 86 wives without using anything, is God that brought us to him. Look at me now. Who is the man can put me inside?
Bello has been accused of keeping his family as modern-day slaves, but even his children defend his actions.
As you can see us, look at my younger ones. Do you look like a slave? My father is a real Muslim. You know the front and the back of Quran. So he can tell the whole world about the God and the prophet. So what are they saying? That he's not a real Muslim? It's them that they are not Muslim. He's not my father.
We were given special access to meet the man behind the controversy that's outraging the country's 70 million Muslims during his stay in prison.
I stand by my 86 wives. Allah brought them to me. If I ask them to leave, they won't. Allah said that man should marry 1, 2, 3, or 4 wives at the most. But when God gives an instruction, he must prescribe a punishment for contravening it. But Allah did not prescribe any punishment for marrying more than 4 wives.
To hell with anybody supporting Bello. Allahu Akbar!
Hundreds of people have gathered here in Bida town to condemn the actions of Bello marrying 86 wives. They say it's against the laws of Islam, and if he's released from prison, they won't let him back into this town.
In mind for a man to keep how many wives? 86 wives.
But somehow he's able to provide for them. They have actually protested for his release.
As I've already said earlier on, as a good Muslim, he must obey what Allah has said in the Quran.
Now he had 10 women in a room as wives, 15 women in a room as wives. Is that right?
The region's spiritual leader and the local Sharia courts accused Bello of blasphemy for saying Allah told him to marry 86 wives.
We will believe that he's not a Muslim, because and then we also disown him as a Muslim.
The problem for the authorities is that Nigeria's laws contain no limit on how many women a man can marry. Bello is charged with insulting religion and has been asked to divorce 82 of his wives just to keep the peace.
I am not going to divorce any of my wives or leave my town. I have not committed any offense.
He'll appear in court on October 6th to answer the charge. Yvonne Dege, Al Jazeera, Bida, Nigeria.
All right, so I'm not even going to address this right now, because this whole thing is based on jealousy. These infidels over here, these people are jealous. These men are jealous of that man. Like his wife said. Look at what his wife says. Look at this. Listen to this.
150 children. They're outraged at his arrest and say he's a good husband and father. They strongly believe God ordained their marriages.
A man can have one wife, only one wife or 2 wives. He will get problem.
You hear that? Listen to this.
somebody should think twice that a man with 86 wives, without using anything, is God that brought us to him. Look at me now. Who is a man can put me inside?
So she's saying that a man that has 2 wives, a man that have 1 wife has a problem. He's always fighting with his wife. They're always arguing. Her point is that a man can hardly marry 1 wife. Most men are struggling to marry 1 wife. And here you have a man that has 86 wives, and none of them is complaining. Then you should think about it. That is, it has to be a God that brought them together. And then she says, look at me. Do I look like somebody that a man can keep down? That's what she said. Look, listen again.
I brought us to him. Look at me now. Who is a man can put me inside?
She's saying that, look at me. Do I look to you like a woman that a man can keep down and put inside? No, I'm not like that. I am here because I want to. All of us are here because we want to. But guess what? These animals over there, these people, these infidels over there, they are jealous. Look, they are jealous of him. They are jealous. That's why they're doing this. They can barely handle 1 woman. They are jealous of him for having 86 wives. And then we have this little whore over here. Where is she? This one, if you hear her accent, listen to her accent. I know because I grew up, I grew up in Africa. Listen, look at her accent.
It's inhumane for a man to keep how many wives?
It's inhumane. This is the same whore that will open her mouth and tell you about democracy. So you guys believe so much in the democracy, but you don't believe in his democracy. You're talking about freedom of speech and freedom to do whatever you want, but he doesn't have freedom. He and his adult wives, they are not free to marry, right? Look at her argument.
It's inhumane for a man to keep how many wives?
It's inhumane. It's inhumane for a man to keep how many wives? Even though they wanted to be there. Even though those wives wanted to be there. Nobody is talking about that. The man himself said that they refused to leave. Those women did not want to leave. And that he's not gonna drive them away. This is all based on jealousy. I saw this video a while ago, a couple of years ago, a while ago, and I knew it was all about jealousy. I had not done anything about this video. I think I will do something about this video to explain more why they're doing this. They're all jealous. They're jealous of him. They can hardly handle 1 woman. Bunch of spineless fools. You should leave the man alone. All right, so we're going to come back to and conclude. My brothers and sisters, you understand what we went through today in terms of, oh, by the way, listen, I'm going to close like this. Listen, this man and his wives, the Most High has 0 tolerance for sexual sin. The Most High does not tolerate sexual sin. That is why he created men in a certain way and created women in a certain way. A woman can be with 1 man, but a man cannot be with 1 woman. Like as I told you, I don't really get into polygamy because in order for me to talk about polygamy, I have to explain how to do polygamy. You can't just marry any woman you see. She has to be a widow or a virgin. She has to be a virgin or a widow. The way that men see women is not the way women see men. I can have sex with a woman right now without even knowing her name. I can meet a woman right now without knowing anything about her, without even talking to her. I can have sex with her, but it doesn't work. Women, normal women, not modern day women, normal women It's not like that. So for us, it's all about flesh. For women, it's about emotion and feeling. They want to get to know you. They want to know who you are. They want to. It's not like that. The kind of sex drive we have is not the same one that women have. That's why normally, and think about this, my brothers and sisters, normally, who is chasing who? Who chases who? Isn't it men that chases women? Normally, it is the man that makes the move. That's the way that the Most High created us. Normally, it is the man that makes the move. It's the man that chases the woman. We were never created to be with only one woman. It's unnatural for men. Remember what I always tell you, that whatever the Europeans are doing, whatever they do or they promote, go and check that thing. That thing is wrong. Whatever the Europeans agree on, whatever they promote, look into that thing. First of all, reject that thing. If the Europeans tell you that having more than one wife is good, stop. Did you hear what I just said? If the Europeans tell you that having multiple wives is good, stop. Go and study it. I guarantee you, having multiple wives is bad, a sin in the sight of the Most High. If they tell you that having multiple wives is a sin, or bad, or cheating, stop. Go look into it. The Most High ordains it. These are the degenerate seed of Satan, enemies of the Most High God. The Most High has zero tolerance for sexual sin. Zero. Zero tolerance for sexual sin. And in order to avoid that, men are the ones that have most of the sex drive. And in order to make sure that they don't commit sexual sin, they can marry as many women as they want, as they can afford or provide for. That's kind of why I'm showing you this video. Because if their husband dares, if he dares to go out and commit adultery, that becomes exactly what David did. How can you have all these women? These are his children, though. That's his children. They're all grown. That's his kids. Most of them are his kids. If you have all these women as your wife, and you still go out and commit adultery, then something is wrong with you. That person has a mental problem. Something is wrong with them. And the only cure is death. If you have more than one wife and you are still going out to commit adultery, like people are doing today, the only cure for your sickness is death. The Most High made it that a man can have more than one wife because of the way he created us, the kind of sex drive we have. There are other reasons, though, which I'm not going to get into right now. If you watch very closely, you will realize that I've not really dealt with the issue of polygamy. But this question is not about polygamy. This question is about seeing your husband having sex with another man. If you see your husband having sex with another man, then it depends on who. If you see your husband having sex with another woman, if you come back home and you see your husband having sex with another woman, it depends on who that woman is. If your husband married that woman, then it's not sin. They're not committing adultery. It's not sin. But if that woman, he did not marry that woman, and they are having sex, then he's committing adultery. He's supposed to die. Don't go and kill him yourself. Don't poison him yourself. Don't kill him yourself, but rather, because if you kill him, that means you committed murder in the sight of the Most High. So what you do is start praying against him. And I don't mind joining you to pray against him. For the Most High to kill him, maybe through heart attack, or he will go out and have an accident or something. And then that will make you a widow. You become free for another man to marry you. That is if he is truly your husband. Because you're not going to go and become mad and angry that a man you're living with committed adultery when you yourself are living with him in adultery. Keep in mind that if he did not take your virginity, he's not your husband. Yeah. John chapter 4. If the man you're fighting for, if the man you're angry that he committed adultery, if you was not a virgin when he married you, he's not even your husband. You're living in adultery with him. And you have to separate. He's not your husband. The man that took your virginity was your husband. But if he was the one that took your virginity, yes, he's your husband. And if you ever see him having sex with a woman that he did not marry, then he's committing adultery. Then start praying against him for the Most High to kill him so that you can become free. But if you see him having sex with a woman and that woman, he married that woman, then there's nothing you can do about it. There's nothing you can do about it because that woman is his wife. Is his wife. You are his wife. The woman he's having sex with, he married that woman, and that woman is his wife too. And he can marry as many women as possible as he can afford. As long as he can afford them, he can marry them as long as they are virgins or true widows, meaning that they were virgin, their husband died, then they became a widow. So you can't just be mad or angry if your husband is having sex with another woman. It depends on if that woman is his wife, then that's fine. If that woman is not his wife, then that's not fine. All praises to our Heavenly Father. Does anybody have any question, my brothers and sisters, before we close? Any question? All right, so I thank our Heavenly Father for his love and his kindness. I give the Most High all the glory and all the honor. If you watch this, if you listen to this, you watch this, and you have any question, you are more than welcome to contact and ask. Remember, check yourself. The man you're living with, was he the one that took your virginity? If he was not the one that took your virginity, he is not your husband. You have to separate. If he was the one that took your virginity, he is your husband. And if you ever see him with another woman and he did not marry that woman and they are having sex, then he's committing adultery. And remember what the Bible says. There has to be 2 or 3 witnesses. 2 or 3 witnesses. So you cannot believe something just because your friend told you. You have to either see with your eyes or have 2 or 3 witnesses. All praises to our Heavenly Father. Give the Most High all the glory and all the honor for his love and his kindness.
Thank you for your interest in this video. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact us through WhatsApp. You can call us or send us a message. You can also email us at lawstogod@gmail.com. Check out our website at www.lawstogodskingdom.com. Download our mobile app from the Android store. Search for Laws to God app. You can also find us on Facebook. Just search for Laws to God. Don't forget, you can also use Skype to call us. Just download Skype on your phone and search for Laws to God. If you are in South Africa and you need a congregation to worship with, give us a call. For more information that we don't have here on YouTube, please download our app and check out our website, www.lawstogod.com. www.lawstogodskingdom.com. Help us spread this truth by sharing this video on your social media.